Welcome. This presentation explores how disability is not a problem within a person, but a relationship shaped by environment, systems, and design choices. In this walkthrough, we'll engage the perspectives of universal design, inclusive design, and environmental psychology to understand how better design supports human dignity, autonomy, and safety for all people. I've structured this presentation around a clear narrative arc. We begin by defining disability through a modern lens. Then, map lived experiences, particularly for individuals with visual, cognitive, or mobility challenges. Next, we explore deep environmental mismatches, analyze aging and injury risks, and examine personal space hazards. From there, we move into universal design frameworks and conclude with an integrated design philosophy that unites compassion, evidence, and innovation. Our starting point is reframing. Traditional models often viewed disability as a personal deficit, but contemporary design and universal design theory tell a different story. Disability emerges when a person's abilities interact with environmental demands. It is relational, a mismatch. This shift is essential because it moves designers away from, quote, fixing the person, unquote, and towards adjusting systems and environments to support equitable participation. This visual contrasts the old medical model with the designer's model. In the designer's view, disability emerges when environmental features fail to meet human needs. Our responsibility is not to, quote, repair the user, it's to eliminate mismatches. When we design for the edges, the entire population benefits. And this mindset also aligns directly with design thinking's empathy and problem framing stages. To ground the operational definition, we consider mismatch across four interdependent dimensions: physical, sensory, cognitive, and psychosocial. Real people rarely experience challenges in just one category. These dimensions overlap, compound, and change over time, particularly with aging. This four-part model becomes a practical tool for designers to anticipate diverse user needs without stereotyping or simplification. Let's humanize this further by mapping a blind shopper's journey. Each phase, arrival, orientation, navigation, selection, checkout, contains predictable pain points and opportunities for design intervention. Journey mapping is powerful here because it reveals invisible friction that sighted designers may overlook. It helps us move away from assumptions and instead ground our solutions in lived experience. Sound becomes a navigational anchor for shoppers with low vision or no vision. Yet retail spaces are often acoustically chaotic. Auditory overload, collision hazards, and ambiguous sound cues create a minefield of cognitive demands. Recognizing sensory overload is crucial. Environments can unintentionally disable through cluttered soundscapes that overwhelm the brain's ability to filter information. Design solutions for blind or low vision users should lean on tactile, olfactory, and environmental cues. Haptic wayfinding strips, textural transitions, and consistent scent anchors can create intuitive guidance systems. This isn't about adding exotic features, it's about leveraging predictable sensory patterns that can reduce anxiety and increase independence. Acoustic control transforms a stressful space into an understandable one. By managing glare, contrast, and reverberation, designers create sound environments where critical cues like checkout beeps or cart noise support navigation rather than compete for attention. This aligns with universal design principles of perceptible information and tolerance for error. So many environmental barriers are hiding in plain sight. High shelving, reflective floors, tight aisles, and poor zoning seem harmless to most users, but disproportionately hinder those with low vision or mobility challenges. The everyday details are the frontier of inclusion. Here, design thinking invites us to observe, to truly see the environment with new eyes and listen for friction points that users have normalized. For neurodivergent individuals, sensory overload is not a mild distraction. It can be debilitating. Visual clutter, excessive patterning, reflective surfaces, and competing stimuli create cognitive noise that blocks comprehension and heightens stress. Good design reduces cognitive load and restores an individual's capacity to focus, navigate, and feel safe. This concept, mapping sensory intensity like a weather system, illustrates how anticipatory design can empower users. Real-time sensory data supports people in planning routes that minimize stress. It's a valid, vivid example of how technology and empathy can merge to create environments that adapt to human needs rather than forcing humans to adapt to them. Checkout is often the highest stress point for people with sensory, cognitive, or anxiety-related disabilities. A quiet pod acts as a sensory buffer between the chaos of the store and the cognitive demands of payment. With warm lighting, acoustic insulation, and intuitive controls, this is a small but powerful example of designing with, not just for, users. Most injuries among older adults are preventable through intentional environmental design. Falls, collisions, and strain injuries often reflect design choices that assume youthful abilities. Steep thresholds, low contrast, slippery surfaces. Aging is not an exception case. It is a universal experience. By designing proactively, we build environments that support every life stage. As abilities change, everyday environments can accumulate risk. What this slide calls environmental debt, that is, poor lighting, sharp corners, and hard-to-use controls, turn ordinary rooms into hazardous landscapes. Identifying patterns in these injuries helps designers prioritize modifications that meaningfully reduce harm. Injury-tolerant design reduces the consequences of mistakes. High-contrast transitions, lever-style controls, and glare management enable users, especially older adults, to interpret the environment more accurately. This isn't about perfection, it's about designing systems that forgive human error instead of punishing it. Co-creation with older adults is essential. Ageism in design often arises from assumptions rather than evidence. When older adults become collaborators, we gain insights that improve relevance, dignity, and emotional comfort. This shifts us from designing, quote, for, to designing, quote, with the core of human-centered practice. The bedroom, often considered a place of comfort, can become hazardous for individuals with mobility, balance, or sensory challenges. This audit helps us see how everyday objects create hidden risks. Cluttered pathways, hard-to-reach lamps, slippery flooring, and low-contrast surfaces. As designers, our responsibility is to cultivate environments that restore safety, confidence, and autonomy in the most personal spaces. A bedroom can present layered, interacting risks. A trip hazard at the bedside, a lamp switch that's difficult to operate, or a collision point near a dresser may seem small individually, but combined, they create a cascade of danger. This layered risk model teaches us to analyze environments holistically, not as isolated threats, but as systems that shape daily living. Design can transform a bedroom from a risk zone into a silent caregiver. Automated pathway lighting, high contrast bedding, tactile cues, and simplified controls create a space that anticipates needs and reduces strain. This approach embodies inclusive design, environments that serve as active partners in well-being, not passive backgrounds. These 7 principles, equitable use, flexibility, simplicity, perceptible information, tolerance for error, low physical effort, and adequate space, remain foundational to design practice. They're not a checklist, but a mindset. When we integrate them early, we create environments that are intuitive, forgiving, and empowering. They help us design for the full spectrum of human experience. Deaf space principles illustrate how design can respect cultural and sensory experience. Generous circulation paths enhance visual communication. Diffused lighting reduces glare. Color and material choices support expressive visibility. These principles extend beyond deaf communities. They reshape how we think about spatial clarity, communication, and human connection. These standards bridge philosophy and practice. By categorizing design considerations, mobility, vision, acoustics, cognitive access, and more, they give practitioners a structured way to address diverse needs. The strength of the Kelsey framework lies in its holistic view. People and environments are dynamic, so our design systems must be adaptable and cross-disciplinary. Certification systems help translate inclusive design values into measurable outcomes. They move us from aspirational concepts to accountability. Tracking performance across design categories allows projects to demonstrate real commitment, not just compliance. This aligns with ethical design, promising what we can measure and measuring what we promise. Inclusive design is not about adding features. It's about shifting our philosophy. We must treat disability as an environmental mismatch. Map lived experiences, observe real-world friction, anticipate future needs, and safeguard personal sanctuaries. These insights guide us towards environments that are humane, engaging, and fundamentally empowering. Reflective practice is the engine behind all meaningful design work. We observe, frame, ideate, test, and learn in cycles. This is classic design thinking, but through a more human lens. Reflection transforms problems into insights and failures into prototypes for progress. When we adopt reflective cycles, we foster environments that evolve alongside user needs. True inclusion isn't about accommodating a subset of people. It's about designing systems that inherently work for everyone. When we go beyond the code, design for the edges, and integrate people, process, and place, we elevate the entire experience. Inclusive design is not a specialty discipline. It is fundamental to ethical, future-ready practice. The built environment shapes every aspect of our lives. The future we want is not accidental. It is designed. Our role as designers is to shape environments that honor dignity, reduce harm, and support human flourishing across every ability and every stage of life. Inclusive design produces environments that are safer, more beautiful, more intuitive, and more humane, not just for people with disabilities, but for everyone. When we design for variability, we create places that enable people to thrive. This is the heart of human-centered design. References. This work integrates perspectives from our course textbook by Kopek, the Universal and Inclusive Design Frameworks, Aging, Injury, and Fall Prevention, Sensory, Cognitive, and Neurodiversity Research and Built Environments, Acoustic, and Sound. Thank you for engaging in this exploration of disability, design, and human experience. The work of inclusive design never truly ends. It evolves with every person we listen to, every space we observe, and every barrier we remove. Let's continue designing with empathy, insight, and intention.